Hola, 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 hola. Okay, today I am going to review the movie Hong, what was it? Hong Boxing. And it's a martial art Chinese movie. I haven't watched those in ages. This one that I just watched recently is from 2020. I just love these movies because these guys are generally like very like masculine. They start off like weak, and then through hard work and training and discipline, they end up becoming stronger to beat up their the bully or the opponent and save the day. And there's usually some sort of humor in there, and it's just like it's serious. It's a good balance of serious and funny, and there's a lot of like good morals and lessons in a typical martial art movie or drama as well. It's called Hung Boxing, but I call it Bell and the Butcher. Okay, I call it Bell and the Butcher. So the story starts out with a man, and he's just walking down the street, and he's carrying a bag. It looks like he's traveling from somewhere. And it's a bright sunny day. Everyone's out at the market buying, selling. Kids are running around playing, rock, paper, scissors or whatever. And you heard like a big ruckus and everyone's moving out of the way. It's because there's a horse that's gone rogue, and, along with it, like a carriage. And in the middle of the horse's way is a little child. So he quickly threw his bag. He ran over to the child, and it was too late, not enough time to move out the way. So he just held the child and covered the child with his own body. So, but the horse was stopped in time. But however, everyone was safe. The town people gathered around. Everyone clapped, and the child happened to be the child of a restaurant owner or a butcher shop of a restaurant owner. Okay. And so the restaurant owner offered that man a job as a butcher. And then one day, this butcher and this child, let's call him little Tommy, the butcher and little Tommy was just walking home from school. And at the restaurant, um, Tommy's restaurant, they noticed this is where the butcher meet Gaston. And Gaston was just like, he finished eating his lunch and he was like, I'm not going to pay for it because you guys are late on your payment for next month rent. And he's just like really big and buff and menacing looking. Is like, not a guy that you would like to, pick a fight with or, get on the bad side of. So the butcher was like, like that's wrong. That's wrong. You should pay the money or whatever. And Gaston was like, no, 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 I'm not. No, no, like you're not gonna tell me what to do. And so they started fighting. And then the butcher grabbed Gaston and pulled him out of the restaurant so that they could fight outside. So they fought, and Gaston lost. The town gathered to see. So okay. The butcher grabbed Gaston outside to fight, and the town people just surrounded them. And in the crowd is Master Wong. He's a kung fu master, a really notorious one in that city. So they're fighting, fist fighting, and the butcher elbowed the guy in the head a couple of times, a couple of punches to the core, and Gaston fell to the floor, and he cut his face with one of the shards on the floor by accident. And like the butcher, he had like his final punch, and that would put like an end to everything, but he stopped himself just inches away from impact. And then he just gave him a warning. He just gave Gaston a warning. It was like, you caused damages today, so you know what? The restaurant owner will not be paying for next month's rent. But get lost and stop being a bully. Like that's not cool. You're a grown ass man. Like why you like what are you doing? And the town all clapped, but the owner was not amused. He was like, you actually just created a bigger issue. Like, you could just like let him off, like, with free food. But now this is not the end of it. Trust. So Gaston returned to his uncle. His uncle Mo also has a martial art club. I want to call it a dojo just because it's easier to say than martial art club. So I want to just call it dojo. It's like one word. So, and the news has spread about Gaston's. So the news had spread about Gaston's defeat. So the uncle was like, grab a few of the students and go challenge him again, beat him up, fight dirty if you have to, but don't come back losing again, okay? Because that's just embarrassing. So Gaston was like that, and he took like 2 or 3 guys with him, and he showed up at the restaurant where the butcher was working, and then they helped the students help Gaston beat up the butcher. They was holding his arms while Gaston was punching the butcher in the stomach, like boom boom pow, and then the Gaston took a knife. He took like the butcher knife, and then he was like, your right arm is the arm that you used to hit me, right? I'm going to chop it off and make sure you never do it again, and make sure the whole town know not to disrespect me. He's in the middle. He raised his knife up, and just as he was going to go down, one of the servants from his household came and was like, um, you can't hurt him. He's a friend of Master Wong, and Master Wong is a friend of Master Mo. So we're all friends here. So you can't hurt him. And so he just like threw the knife to the floor. And then you see the very next scene, Master Wong is having tea with Master Mo and his son. His son, let's call him Roberto. Okay, just for fun. They're all Chinese here, but I'm going to call him Roberto. So Roberto and Master Mo was all complimenting on Master Wong, like how good his kung fu is and everything, and his name, how well known he is in the town and in the area. And Roberto would very much love to be a student of Master Wong. However, Wong declined. He was like, your son is actually quite talented already. I don't think I have anything else to teach him. And he was just like, I just think it's better if we are friends. Massimo was not happy with that, but his son Roberto was like, it's okay, Dad. It's okay. It's okay. And so Master Wong, like, just walked out. Okay, Roberto is a martial artist, and he usually practices with his dad's student, but he's generally undefeated. They're like, none of the students can beat him. And then one day, Gaston challenges him to a battle. He started with a high kick and just like, little simple things here and there. And Roberto just like started rolling on the floor, and then another jab to the neck. And then his arm got twisted, and his arm got twisted. And then Gaston did his, finishing move. And it was clear that was the end. Like, Gaston was the clear winner. Um, and it's very like the character, the actor that played Gaston is really big and menacing. Definitely not a joke. Like if you watch the fighting scene, like I feel like you could see muscles in his fingertip from the both of them actually. Anyway, how Roberto lost was so easy that it was embarrassing. And Master Mo was so upset. So that's why he was like so set on making sure that Roberto can learn from Master Wong and become stronger. So that was when Roberto realized that all the students at the dojo had been losing to him purposely. It's like a very funny. This is a very funny scene to me. But the butcher was taking little Tommy to school, and he saw Tommy's teacher, and it was like love at first sight. You know, if you ever seen it in any movie, this is like the prime example of love at first sight. He was just like dazed, like in the days, like he his eyes he was just staring at her, you know. And I just find it was so stupid. His face was so stupid looking. Now I don't know if that was acting or if that's just like how his face naturally is, but it fits the scene really well. No, but I have to agree. The teacher is beautiful and feminine, you know. So it's like something new to him. So of course he's gonna find it fascinating. He's usually around guys all day, or me. So of course, you see like a feminine looking lady, he's gonna be like, "Whoa, I've never seen this before," you know. And um, he actually like made like a promise to himself not to get married because he want to focus on being a kung fu master, but like just take a look at the scene. I feel like she can change his mind, his mind is set on being a kung fu master, so he went to Master Wong dojo to hopefully get accepted as a student. And Master Wong was talking with the teacher. I forgot to mention, I'm going to call her Belle, Belle and the butcher. um anyway, I'm going to call her Belle. He was just playing chess with her, and he was telling her how when he accepts students, it's usually on two criteria. One, you have to have natural talent, or two, have good morals. So that day when the butcher came to Wong, he was given like a physical test. If you were able to take an item from um, this person's hair, then I will accept you as a student. The butcher failed because he didn't want to, violate the person by touching inappropriately or what inappropriately. But in failing to grab the hairpiece, the hairpin, he passed the test on like morality. And Master Wong also believes in fate. He believes that they are fated to be master and student. And so he accepted um, the butcher as one of his students, and word spread everywhere in the town. Master Mo and Roberto was not happy to hear this. They actually find it very insulting. They actually find it very insulting because they've asked Master Wang multiple times to accept his son, and for what reason, you know, they accept the butcher and not his son, not Roberto. Okay. I also want to add that Master Wang told Bell one of the reasons why he didn't accept Roberto as a student is because Roberto have talent, but he doesn't have like the good ethic that he values in his students. Okay. They have a public ceremony to officiate the butcher as a student into the dojo. And during the tea ceremony, Master Mo showed up with his son Roberto, and then he was like, "Don't you think that you're being hella rude? We've asked you multiple times to accept my son, but you didn't. Instead, you took in this butcher off the street. Like, what's the deal? Like, give me a freaking explanation, because this is not making sense. It seems like you're doing this on purpose to be hateful towards us. Like I need an explanation, okay?" And that's the one that worked out. I don't remember if he actually went and explained, but he was like, "All right, let's do a challenge." Roberto and the butcher are going to do a line dance battle. If your son wins, okay, I'm gonna accept him as a student. That's it. If he loses, nothing changed, I guess. But anyway, they're doing the line dance. Okay, and they're doing the line dance, and if you remember, Roberto lost to Gaston, and Gaston lost to the butcher. So do you think that Roberto will be able to beat the butcher? No, no. So he lost, and that night he went home with his dad, and they're both like standing in front of their ancestral shrine, and they're like, Dad, I want to become better, but I don't even care about Master Wong anymore. I'm going to become better without him. And and that's when Roberto decided that he's going to travel abroad to study martial art. He's going to find another master somewhere abroad and help him advance, because the way he lost today, like his dojo lost all the dignity that they worked so hard for. During this part of the movie, three people are training: Gaston, the butcher, and Roberto, in like different areas. Okay, and the butcher is also learning to read and write at Tommy's school. And Tommy's teacher is Belle, and that's how he's getting closer to Belle as well. He's getting closer to his crush. Learning to read and write. I'm not sure if it's for his own benefit or if he's doing for someone special. But he's learning, and it helps him with his job at the butcher shop, the restaurant, because he keep messing up with the accounting part of it. You can see the butcher training. You can see Master Wong personally training the butcher. He's teaching him the crane technique. You see people, when people do this, I guess like it's called the crane technique, which is like a mixture. Like you want to focus on three things: strength, agility, and flexibility. He's working hard to strengthen his weaknesses and balance them at the same time. And in the very next scene, you see Gaston had finished his martial art studies. He practiced dark martial art using dark energy. So whenever he's using that specific practice, his eyes just turn black, and he's going around beating all the different people, all the different students at the different dojos, and taking over the entire dojo. And words are just spreading how strong he is. But Gaston's main objective is to get revenge on the butcher. So where did he go? He went to little Tommy's school. The butcher has a crush on Belle. So, he went there. So he created a ruckus. He threw all the books and he threw all the textbooks and furniture outside, desk tables, whatever. The little students, they're probably like, 5 or 6 years old. They're so scared. They're just standing at the entrance. Miss Bell was like yelling, begging him and his posse to stop throwing things. The garden, there's like this one guy, he held up a plant and he threw it, smashed on the floor, and she's out of her mind because she went up and tried to stop him, but instead she got pushed to the floor as well, and she got a cut on her face from like one of the shards on the ground. Similar injury to Mr. Gaston. So little Tommy, he's standing at the entrance. He was like, "Oh my God, I can't do anything about this, but I know who can." So he went to find the butcher. The butcher is just, at the butcher shop, and he's like cutting his meat while his fellow classmates are telling him to do something about Gaston because Gaston is out of control. Butcher was like, "No, I'm not gonna do anything. We're gonna wait until Master Wong come back." Master Wong has, you know, is on like it has gone up the mountain to get some herbs for medicine. So that journey is going to take 14 days. We're going to wait until Master Wong returns to do anything. And then little Tommy comes in, and then he was like, "Miss Bell is hurt." And so the butcher took off immediately, and all his fellow classmates are looking at him weird. But, he ran off to help Bell. And when he ran to the school, as soon as he got into the school, they closed the door on him and took out their weapon. And he's just standing there looking at Gaston and Belle. Belle was all tied up and she had like cloth in her mouth. She couldn't speak and she's standing in this box. Gaston pushed her down into the box and there's like a big sandbag on top of her. He punched the sandbag so hard that it ripped and sand is pouring down into that box, burying Belle alive. So the butcher was like, okay, you want to battle? Let's battle. So they both hopped onto like this platform and fought one on one. And the butcher, he won quite, and the butcher, he won, right? But he didn't just like defeat the guy, he expelled the guy of his dark energy so he can never practice dark martial art again. And then he twisted Gaston's leg. So now Gaston will be permanently crippled. So Gaston is walking around crippled and he feels ashamed whenever he see people in the butcher. So he decided to cook up a nice dinner for him and his uncle, Master Mole. It was a lot of nice food. And while they were eating, he was telling the uncle how grateful he is that the uncle had taken him in while he was going through a really tough time and he missed the uncle. After a couple minutes of eating and conversing, the uncle started splitting up blood, okay, because Gaston had poisoned the dish. So the uncle died on the spot. He looked at Gaston in the eye, and then he was like, for real, and then he died. And you know, the crazy part is that Gaston had consumed the poison as well, and he died on the spot. When the examiners came to the scene, they found poison in the food, particularly the meat, which was sold and delivered by the butcher. Therefore, when Roberto he came back from his training, he thought that the butcher had killed his dad. So he was like, you know what, it's on. I have just learned Western boxing. So I'm not the same person I was before. I'm a lot stronger. You did this to my dad, and I'm gonna avenge him. Okay, so they set up a date for that fight, and for the fight, whoever lose will die. So even if both survive the fight, the loser is gonna die. So the fight is at like 10 a.m. Roberto was there, but the butcher wasn't. So it was gonna be what's that called? A default win for Roberto. But no. Um, Gaston, the butcher showed up. He showed up like a second late before they can announce. Um, Roberto showed up like a second before they can and before they announced Roberto as the winner, and they fought. Okay, and they both used their signature move. You can see the difference in the two fighting style. Roberto have like a Western style. He was like boxing, going back and forth like this, whereas the butcher, he's just like standard kung fu practice. Clearly, the butcher had better technique, and he could have ended the fight so many times, but he keep holding back on on the final blow. He didn't want to hurt or injure Roberto. Roberto know that he's not the better fighter, but he doesn't give up, and they both keep going head to head until Master Wong showed up. Master Master Wong showed up with the merchant, who confessed that he sold the poison to Gaston against his will because Gaston was threatening him. Roberto, in realization that his cousin was the one to murder his dad, he dropped to his knees. The butcher turned around and he noticed Belle. Belle was leaving. He ran after her. He went to her little cottage. It was a really nice little cottage, by the way. And he found a letter. And she basically is saying that, this is a painful place for her because her fiance had died and she had a hard time forgetting him. So she had gotten on the train and left the city. And that was the end of the movie. So she had gotten on the train to leave the city, but she wishes that the butcher can stay and learn a lot from Master Wong. And that was the end of the story. You know, the bell in this story, the bell and the butcher didn't get together for a reason I don't understand, because it does seem that she likes him, but at the same time, their class is too different. You know, he can't read and write, and she's like very like proper. Even if she was to like him, I don't know how society back then. I don't think they would accept it as well. It's gonna be hard for the both of them, unless it's like really fantasy like, and reality doesn't matter. She left, and the way she left is quite heartless. She was on the train looking ahead. She did not look back at all, and he was just like chasing after her on the train at the train station. Overall, what would I give this movie? Over Overall, I think I'm gonna give this movie a 6 out of 10. A 6 out of 10. I like the male actors. They're very like buff looking. You know, I like men like that. However, I like men like that. But I think the female character, her acting is very like too weak and too feminine. She's supposed to be weak and she's supposed to be feminine, but like it's too dramatic. You know, like she can't walk properly. She tripped a little bit and her ankles like broken. She had to be carried home. Like, come on, like we trip and fall. We run into stuff all the time. We don't need no one to carry us home. I didn't mention that in the story. I'm just saying it's over. It's over dramatic. Okay, she did not need to be like that. Um, I feel like there could have been a lot more character, a lot more humor added to these type of movies. So that was missing. Humor. The female lead, I didn't like. You know what else? The fighting. There was like one fighting scene where I feel like they could have done a better take. What else? Mm, what else? I think the story is good. It has like a lot of twists and turns. You wouldn't think that Gaston would poison his uncle and then frame someone so that that one person can get murder. And you wouldn't think that Gaston would plan to murder his uncle and himself. They could have like a better playlist, especially during the fighting scene. It could be very really motivating if the right music were played, and it can show um what was it? It could show Roberto and Gaston training, but they didn't. It could show like the different type of like practices and how they all train differently. I feel like that would have been motivating as well. Overall, I feel like a 6 out of 10 is very accurate. The story is not bad, but it could have been delivered better. Okay, well that's all. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you do want to watch the movie, it is available on YouTube. Just search up Hung Boxing.